Daniel sprinted through the desolate streets. The echo of his own footsteps was the only sound. His chest burned. His breath formed ragged clouds in the cold night air. He glanced at his watch. It was 11:55 p.m. The last train home was leaving in 5 minutes. He couldn't miss it. He burst through the station doors, gasping for air. The large clock above the platform mocked him with its relentless ticking. 11:57 p.m. Daniel searched desperately for platform 4. He had to make it. He skidded to a halt, heart pounding. There it was. The train doors were closing. "Wait!" he yelled, his voice hoarse. A kind face appeared in the window. The doors slid open. Daniel stumbled inside, collapsing onto the nearest seat. He had made it. He looked around the mostly empty carriage. An elderly woman sat by the window, her gaze fixed on him. She had a warm smile and kind eyes that sparkled with amusement. Daniel, still catching his breath, gave her a quick nod before burying his face in his phone. The train lurched forward, the gentle rocking motion doing little to soothe Daniel's anxiety. He scrolled through his phone, each notification a sharp reminder of his mounting frustrations. Work emails, missed calls from his mother, social media updates, they all added to the weight on his chest. He stole a glance at the old woman across from him. She sat serenely, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Her eyes were closed, but her lips were curved into a peaceful smile. Didn't she have anything to worry about? Suddenly his phone slipped from his grasp, clattering onto the floor. He cursed under his breath, bending down to retrieve it. The woman's eyes were open now, watching him with a mixture of amusement and understanding. "Lost something?" she asked, her voice surprisingly strong for someone her age. Daniel, flustered, mumbled something about technology being a nuisance. The woman chuckled softly, a melodic sound that seemed to fill the carriage. "You young ones," she began, shaking her head gently, "always in such a rush, always glued to those devices." Daniel, taken aback by her directness, started to apologize, but she held up a hand, stopping him. "No need to apologize, dearie," she said. "I remember those days. The constant pressure, the feeling that you're always falling behind." She paused, her gaze distant. "Back in my day," she continued, her voice taking on a dreamy quality. "We didn't have all these gadgets, we had time. Time to talk, time to think, time to just be." She told him about her childhood, about growing up in a time before the internet, before cell phones, before the relentless pace of modern life. She spoke of simple joys, playing hopscotch in the street, listening to stories on the radio, spending hours lost in a good book. Her words painted a vivid picture, transporting Daniel to a simpler time. He found himself captivated, his phone forgotten in his lap. As the train rattled on, the woman's stories washed over Daniel. He had never thought of it that way before. He had always viewed technology as a blessing, a tool to connect and progress. But listening to her, he realized that it had also become a burden, a source of distraction and anxiety. He looked at the old woman, her face etched with the wisdom of a life well lived. He saw in her a reflection of his own grandparents, of a generation that had known a different pace of life. He felt a pang of guilt for not calling his grandmother more often. When the train finally pulled into his station, Daniel felt a strange sense of reluctance. He had boarded the train feeling stressed and disconnected, but he was getting off feeling oddly light and strangely connected to this woman he had just met. "Thank you," he said, offering her a genuine smile. The woman returned his smile, her eyes twinkling. "Anytime, dearie," she said, "anytime." As Daniel stepped off the train and into the night, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just learned a valuable lesson. He slipped his phone into his pocket, deciding to call his grandmother tomorrow. Tonight, he would walk home under the stars, just like they used to.